Hi all, once again we are in SS class. Today we are going to discuss about Civics chapter 3. Why do we need a parliament? And in the last two civics chapters we have discussed about the process of election, and we said the elections are very necessary for a government to be formed. Now this government represents the people's idea and the people's view. So therefore the people that we elect would be representing people at a national level, and those people who are representing us and those whom we have elected from the parliament. Now this parliament is to composed of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. That's the upper house and the lower house. So let's understand brief about Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha is known as the upper house and Lok Sabha is known as the lower house. Now the Rajya Sabha we have maximum members 250, of which we would say the present Rajya Sabha has 245 members, of which 12 are nominated and the rest are. And so these 12 are nominated are from the various field of arts and literature. The rest of those are elected. Now the Lok Sabha are elected by the people of India from the respective constituencies. We look on to the process as we move forward. The member of Rajya Sabha is for a period of 6 years. However, the member of Lok Sabha is for a period of 5 years. Now this 6 years is on a rotating basis. That means 1/3 of the members retire every 2 years. So there is no false strength that was all together. So have 1/3 of members that would retire every 2 years. Then have the new members that would keep coming into Rajya Sabha. So that's Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha has the member strength of 545. Now the question is, why do we need a parliament? This parliament, which is composed of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, basically represents the people's idea. Now whom we are saying, the people who form the base of democratic government have a consensus in the parliament. It all started with the rise of nationalism. Till the time of British period in India, what was there? We basically had to follow what the Britishers said. And there was no freedom, no equality, no participation of the common man that was prevalent in the society. As a result, people felt a need to have representation so that they could raise their voice, and in 1885 with the Indian National Congress they started that the elected members should be part of the legislature. Later in 1909, that was the Government of India Act, they announced some of the people for elected representation. So with this background, we started with the need or the rise of the parliament. Again, as we said, the members of the parliament are elected. So by election, we have the people who came into power, and those people who came into power ultimately help control and guide the government. And again, as we said, most of the people who are part of the parliament are elected. Few are those who are nominated in Rajya Sabha. And all the system through the principle of voting, that under the universal adult franchise. Right to vote all adult citizens. Now, till now, the voting was done through the ballot paper. However, in 2004, electronic voting machine came up for the first time. Now, the best idea of using the electronic voting machine is, Saving so much of paper took analysis. So when it came saving the paper, the statistics shows for 2004 general election itself 8,000 tons of papers saved because there was no more need printing the ballot papers and around 1.5 lakhs trees saved from cutting. And therefore this started as revolution, and now we worked on the electronic voting machine. We have already discussed the compost of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha is also known as Council of State, or it is called the upper house. Lok Sabha is also known as lower house or the house of the people. Again, very important question you must know here. Rajya Sabha is presided over by the Vice President of India. However, Lok Sabha is presided over by the Speaker. Now, this is a kind of simple objective question that are sometimes formed. Now, how the Lok Sabha members are elected is very important. When we looked at the whole of India have a states, and within the states we have districts. Within the districts we have separated constituencies. Now the country could be divided into a number of constituencies. It can be composed of different districts, constituencies formed by different districts or within the districts. Now these constituencies have one person that would present each of the constituency, and on this one seat have the candidates from various parties. We can say that one candidate from BJP, second candidates from Congress, third from the Independent, fourth from the as a regional party. So then we have four contestants. For example, we can say appearing for that one seat, now the people of the state would vote. And again, those four parties who wins more votes on the winning party, and based on the number of votes that are received for particular party, that define that party has won. Now this party would have member in the parliament, and this member of the parliament from every constituencies finally make up the parliament. So the parliament is composed of the member of the parliament and those who are elected for the following process. Then again, it is very important to understand that when we are saying that the winning party, which party get more than half of the votes from the constituencies, this have the representation. This member have the representation. This member would try to raise question or concerns about the constituency and try to create concern development in his or her own constituency. So that's a process through which we have the developmental activity that moves on. And now we talks about for parliament, what are the functions of the parliament? The first and the foremost function is lawmaking, the most in the common function. So the parliament itself making the law. The next is to select the national government. Now, how does the national government is being selected? It is very important. When I am saying selecting a national government, we have already talked about how members of parliament are elected. Now, these members of parliament, that is after the Lok Sabha election, a list is prepared that how many MPs members belong to each political parties. For a political party to form the government, they must have a majority of elected MPs. Since therefore 545 members in Lok Sabha, to have the majority, a party should have at least half of the member or number that is 273. And in the opposition, the different parties come together and form the group and have the majority, and it needs to government to power. It would have to have coalition government, and that party will try to bring down more subordinate parties or regional parties along with this party so that they can form the majority. And the majorities formed the government, they can establish their own government. So, what is the key idea? The key idea is the party having absolutely majority is winning more seats, and opposite to that party, all other parties who are winning would be from the opposition party, of which the party which has the maximum number of the candidates would be the opposition party. So the opposition party is the largest party in the opposition, and one of the most important functions of the Lok Sabha to select the executive, and it is a group of persons who work together to implement the laws made by the parliament. The Prime Minister becomes the leader of the ruling party, so whichever parties finally selected would appoint or would nominate the Prime Minister as their leader. And this Prime Minister would select ministers, and these ministers for the various departments as health department, education department, finance department, defense department, so on. Now each of these department would have a minister, and then many of the department also have the minister of the states at the subordinate level. So we talk about the absolute power, the absolute majority government, the coalition government, and where more political parties come together to form a clear party or clear government. Then we have the Rajya Sabha. So Rajya Sabha represents the state. Members of Rajya Sabha are represented from each and every state. Again, Rajya Sabha has the power to legislate and a bill, and this bill must pass through Rajya Sabha to become a law. All the bills are sent from Lok Sabha to Rajya Sabha to become a law. Rajya Sabha can alter the bill and give suggestions and can review those bills and send it back to consideration to Lok Sabha. So that's the process that we'll understand as we move forward. The next important role of the parliament is to control, guide and inform the government. Now here what could be done? So the first thing that would notice here, the question hour. The question hour is the number of questions, all the questions that has been raised by the members of the parliament, and they are being asked. They ask the concerned department to answer these questions. So they try to bring in more people, or they try to bring out the shortcomings or the mistakes the government is having, and bringing to more of the people's opinion into the system. So that is what is question hour. Then again, what would happen if there is no opposition party? If there is no opposition party, the party which is power can do whatever they want. So there would be no one question their role or questions their statements, and therefore we can require an opposition party in the government. So once we have the opposition party, it would be highlight the drawbacks that are present in the programs, in the various systems and various schemes, and it also mobilize or prepare for active the support of the people. Again, in the financial matters, it's very important that you have the approval from the parliament. So let's have the examples of a question asked in the parliament. Now here is the minister asked, one of the members of the parliament asked the Minister of Women and Child Development about whether was the status of the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights to ban the junk foods in the schools? If so, give the details. And whether the union government has ensured the compliance for the above. So these are the questions that have been raised in the question hour. Then thus you have the ministers of the state who is coming with the answers for the same. So that's the way the question hour moves on to the parliament. Now actually who forms the parliament? As I said, parliament is formed by the representation of the people. So this group of people, I would say, comes from various backgrounds. Some of those could be from rural background, others from urban background, and some could be highly literate with doctorate, and some could be postgraduate. And then we have majority religious groups, minority religious group, or OBC, Dalits. So all those could form or represent the parliament based on the constituency that they are coming up from. So for example, if there is a constituency which is present in a remote or tribal area, so most of the people, they would be voting out for either of the tribal person who is being elected as a member of the parliament, and therefore they would very well represent that region and bring out the problems of that region. Now we look on to the historical perspective and the trend. Let's understand what the trend speaks. Now if we talks about the representation of the women and Lok Sabha, it has increased from 4% in 1952 to 11% in 2014 elections. So 2014 elections was the last central election that we had. So we are talking about the statistics post independence after we have the constitution that was drafted till 2014. So the representation of women in Lok Sabha has increased significantly. Coming on to the education of the members of the parliament, previously the most of the members were either matriculate or graduate. Now we have numerous postgraduate or doctoral candidates who are coming up as members of the parliament. So more people are at the higher education level who are entering into politics, and that's a very good sign of development in a country. So these are the some of the matter that's the parliament form and who actually form the parliament. What is the composition of the parliament? And why different sessions of the society are represented into the parliament. So with this I conclude this chapter. Have a good day. Thank you.